Hi.
Hola.
Hi, here's Mr. Dozy.
This is Michael Bradley.
Hey, I'm Memphis.
Hey.
Hola. Hello.
I'm here with soccer.com.
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 And I'm talking with my friends soccer.com.
See you soon.
Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new Nike Mercurial Vapor 11 FG in the Spark Brilliance pack colorway. Now included with the shoes is a string bag, which you see on the table in front of me, and then of course you have the Vapor 11s themselves, which is the latest Vapor in the new Mercurial lineup, replacing of course the Mercurial Vapor 10. Now despite how these might look, which is very similar to the previous model, they have made some more subtle design changes with the upper and some more drastic design changes with the sole plate and stud pattern that, again, despite the design being somewhat similar to the previous model, the experience you're going to have with this shoe is going to be quite a bit different. So in today's video, we're going to be going over all the tech specs and performance features of the firm ground Nike Mercurial Vapor 11. I'm going to be comparing it to the Vapor 10 along the way as well. So if you are interested in learning more about this shoe, stick around and watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $230 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's talk tech specs and go over all the different performance details of the Mercurial Vapor 11. Now, the Vapor 11, like I mentioned at the start of the video, does have a lot of design similarities to that of the Vapor 10. The main similarity is the upper itself, in that it is still a one-piece Teijin synthetic construction. So because of that, you still have the dual lace hole system with the laces running up the middle, the stretchy elasticated material filling out what would normally be the tongue area of the shoe, ACC all conditions control, and it still is of course a low-cut shoe with an internal plastic heel counter. The main difference here is the texturing on the surface of the upper. With the Vapor 10, it was pretty much completely flat with a micro texturing on the surface, depending on the colorway of course, whereas this time around they've introduced a speed rib texturing where in the form of these horizontal stripes that you see within the graphics, there is actually variation in the surface of the shoe. So basically it's thinner and thicker in the form of horizontal lines. It's kind of mimicking what you get on the Superfly 5. Obviously that shoe is made from Flyknit, and the actual variation in thickness comes from the knitting within the actual upper, where this is obviously just added material on the shoe for the sake of having the texturing. They tout it as a performance feature. Does it actually make a big difference in terms of feel on the ball? Not really. It's the same basic Teijin synthetic that we got on the Vapor 10. So it's super thin, it's super flexible, and it doesn't have that plasticky sensation, which is what you normally find with a lot of super thin synthetics. It moves quite nicely with your foot and doesn't require a whole lot of break-in time. The difference here is that you just have that little bit of extra thickness, not to the point where the shoe feels padded in any way. It's still one of the thinnest shoes out there, but because you have those slightly thicker kind of raised parts on the upper, again, it does have a little bit of extra thickness that you don't necessarily have on the Vapor 10. And as far as friction on the ball is concerned, because of the texturing, you don't notice it all that much. It's a little bit different from the Vapor 10, but after 10-20 minutes or so, it's something that you stop noticing altogether. So again, aside from the texturing, there isn't a huge difference here in comparison to the previous Vapor model. Internally, the liner is solid as opposed to being kind of more sectioned off, which I can't really show you guys just because I can't open up the shoe, but there really isn't anything to see. It's just a solid lining material, and that does play into the structural reinforcement of the upper, which I would say the Vapor 11 does feel a little bit more structurally sound in comparison to the Vapor 10, which does make it a slightly more responsive shoe. Not a bad thing at all. Again, it's just not quite as thin as the Vapor 10, but not something that I think if you really like the Vapor 10, you're going to dislike with the Vapor 11. It's more of just a slight change this time around. Another thing that I like that they've added on the Vapor 11 is this extra strip of what's basically a rubberized material at the very base of the upper where it meets the sole plate. This is going to be really good in terms of enhancing the lifespan of the shoe, mainly because this material is just going to be very durable and it's going to strengthen the bond between the upper and the sole plate. So it's something that they have included kind of wrapping around the forefoot and toe box area, the main high wear zone or failure point on any soccer shoe. So that's something that they have added. How durable will it make the shoe? Honestly, I couldn't really say, but it is something that they have included there that definitely is worth mentioning. Again, central lacing system. Because of this one-piece design, you really don't have any overlapping materials, which makes for a nice consistent touch across the entire foot. So no matter, I guess with this shoe, it's a little bit different than the Vapor 10 because you do have the texturing here that you don't have across the top of the foot. But for the most part, touches on the ball feel consistently thin across the entire foot, which is really, really nice. You do have the dual lace hole system, which I find does a really good job of keeping the laces nice and tight throughout your entire playing session. It doesn't feel like they've loosened up after half an hour or so. They stay nice and tight for as long as you're wearing the shoes. And then of course you do have ACC all conditions control as your wet control element, like you'll find on all the top end models from Nike, but like any of the other top end models, it's not something that I would consider to be a make or break feature. Again, low cut just like the Vapor 10, internal plastic heel counter, you have a smooth synthetic leather liner with a decent amount of padding considering how light this shoe is. The insole is fully removable, although they do add a little bit of glue at the heel, which is kind of nice because you can still remove the insole if you want to, but if you don't remove the insole, it's going to help to keep it locked in place a little bit better, so it's not going to slide around on you. Something I think most companies should do is just add that little bit of glue, not to where the insole is completely permanent, but just so it prevents it from sliding around. So they did do that in the heel, which again I thought was worth mentioning. And aside from that, it's a pretty straightforward insole, same one you're going to find on the Superfly 5. It's a mesh liner on top. And it's a single layer of what's kind of like an ortholite material. It has some decent thickness to it, and it's like a very dense kind of memory foam, I guess is the best way to describe it. Really, really nice insole. And you can see it isn't completely flat, which actually mimics the shape of the sole plate itself, which is, for me, the biggest change coming from the Vapor 10. Now this is the new Nike Plate sole plate that you're also going to find on the Superfly 5. With the Superfly 5, everybody complained that it wasn't carbon fiber, and like I've said many times in my videos on the Superfly 5, while it might not look as cool, I really think that it's better performance-wise in comparison to the Superfly 4. And in comparison to the Vapor 10, this is definitely a better sole plate as well. Essentially what it is, it's a single layer of plastic material that they are able to use or able to build using a special vacuum forming process. Normally with a sole plate, you'd have multiple layers of material, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does add weight to the final design. If they can make it one single layer of material, the shoe's going to be much, much lighter for it, which you definitely do see when comparing the the Superfly 4 and the Superfly 5, where the 5 is a lot lighter than the previous model. And again, the Vapor 11 is actually lighter than the Vapor 10, which we're going to see in just a second. The sole plate itself also, aside from just being one single piece of material, it's a different shape than what we're used to. Not so much in terms of the actual outline, but the actual dimension of the part that you're standing on top of. So normally with a sole plate, it's completely flat, whereas with this sole plate, it has anatomical shaping to it, which basically means that it's not entirely flat. It has some curves, it has some bumps to it, where it's supposed to flow with the actual shape of a foot, as opposed to being completely flat. And I think a lot of people read into that and think that it's going to be kind of weird and potentially not fit their foot properly. The actual amount of shape to the bottom of the foot is pretty minimal, in all honesty. It's just enough to where you can actually feel it. It's noticeable again for the first 10-20 minutes, but I got used to it very, very quickly. It didn't cause me any discomfort. And for me, the main benefit and the main reason why they actually incorporated a shape to the bottom of the sole plate instead of leaving it just flat is because of that little bit of shape that it has. It helps to lock in the bottom of your foot to the base of the sole plate a little bit better. You feel more connected, and it prevents your foot from sliding around on the top of the sole plate. Again, kind of enhancing the connection between your foot and the shoe and making for a more responsive feel overall. You get the same sole plate again on the Superfly 5, and again, it works extremely well. It's a major improvement over what we had from the Superfly 4, as well as the Vapor 10 in my opinion. And then of course the stud pattern. This is the firm ground variation. It's the new Mercurial stud pattern you're going to find across the entire line, and it's arguably the most aggressive Mercurial stud pattern Nike has ever released. The grip is absolutely tremendous. The amount of butt you get when pushing off in pretty much any direction is really, really good. The studs have this kind of arrow chevron shape to them, as you guys can see. They're all about the same length and they're all about the same size. and they go very close to the tip of the toe, which may seem a little bit worrying in terms of kicking the ball, but I never had any issues with it getting in the way. And when you are up on your toes, you have lots and lots of grip when pushing off, which again, just makes this shoe feel very, very aggressive, very responsive, and just super light on your feet. You forget that you're wearing them, and it really does have that kind of sprinter spike type feel, if that makes any sense. Not necessarily going to make you run faster or anything like that, but the actual traction is fantastic. If you're a fan of Mercurial stud patterns, I really think you're going to like this one. And for me personally, I would say that this is the best one that I've ever used, and I've used every single iteration of the Mercurial stud pattern. So as far as traction is concerned, very, very good from the firm ground layout in the new Mercurial lineup. As far as weight is concerned, I thought we'd compare the Vapor 10 to the Vapor 11 to see if there's any significant weight difference between the two. So I'm going to be weighing both shoes for you today in real time using this scale. Keep in mind these are both in brand new condition and both the exact same size 9 US. So this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the Vapor 10s, throw them on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 6.2 ounces, the equivalent of 176 grams, which is very, very light. The Vapor 10 was the lightest shoe on offer from Nike until the Vapor 11 came out. So pull these off, throw on the Vapor 11, and you can see that they weigh in at 5.95 ounces, which is the equivalent of 169 grams. So the weight difference isn't actually all that significant. It just went to 170 grams. So the weight difference is about 6 grams, which honestly is pretty minimal. You're not really going to notice a weight difference between these two shoes on your feet, but you definitely will notice a difference in the feel. I really think that the slightly altered shape of this shoe, the more structured upper, and that new sole plate that does have the anatomical shaping to it, it locks your foot in place that much better. And because of that, the shoe does come across as being more responsive, more connected to your foot, which in turn does make the experience more like the shoe disappears on your foot. It's right at the 6 ounce mark, which is as light as you're going to find from anything, and it's supposed to hold up pretty well too. At least I haven't had any issues with my testing of them so far, and I don't really anticipate having any problems either. So if you're looking for that super lightweight, super tight fit with a very responsive feel and really aggressive traction, the Vapor 11 is an absolutely fantastic option right now. Aesthetically, I know not everyone is a huge fan of the design, or at least the first colorway. This is obviously part of the Spark Brilliance pack. You see players wearing this right now during the Copa America, as well as the 2016 Euro Cup. And basically it's a total crimson base, which is kind of like an orange color. And then of course you have the black, the pink, and the Volt yellow accents throughout the shoe in the form of these stripes. So the stripes are black and pink, as you can see. They run horizontally across the top of the upper. Unlike the Superfly 5, which obviously has a Flyknit upper, this doesn't really have that split color where the outside is orange and the inside is pink. It's more orange all the way through, just with kind of like a pinstripe design. Will this be on every single colorway? Honestly, I don't have an answer to that question, but for right now, this is all we have, and the stripes are kind of one of those things that you're either going to love or hate. The laces, as well as the top of the shoe, as you guys can see, solid black in color. It does eventually fade to black at the very back of the heel as well, which I actually think looks kind of cool. You have Volt yellow accents in the Nike swoosh on the front and side of the shoe, the Mercurial branding on the heel. The sole plate is entirely black in color as well. You have another Volt yellow Nike swoosh on the bottom, and all of the studs are translucent Volt yellow as well. So overall, I personally don't mind how they look. It's a nice bright colorway, which you kind of expect as a launch colorway for the Mercurial line. But let me know what you guys think of these down below in the comment section. Do you like how they look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and of course what the sizing is like. Alright, so here is a look at the Vapor 11s on feet. On my left foot I have the stock black laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot I have a pair of neon yellow reflective SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. Find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, Just like the Vapor 10, this has a really tight kind of one-to-one fit. The one-piece upper really allows the shoe to wrap your foot very closely. There is pretty much no extra space on the inside of the shoe, or at least there shouldn't be, given that you get the proper sizing. And that really does make for, like I said, a very connected feel to the shoe. There's no wiggle room. The shoe is very responsive because of this. It moves the instant that your foot does, and that's kind of what has made the Mercurial line so popular over the years, especially the Mercurial Vapor. And you still get that here with the Vapor 11. The overall shape and feel of the shoe isn't all that different, at least when you're talking about the upper in comparison to the Vapor 10. Again, it's a little bit more structured, and the shape is tweaked ever so slightly, but for the most part, if you like the feel of the Vapor 10, you're gonna like the feel of the Vapor 11. As far as the sole plate is concerned, again, it's not completely flat. It's something that you do immediately notice when you put the shoe on. Does it feel weird? Not really. It's just something that you'll notice for the first little bit, but after 10-20 minutes or so, again, it's something that you kind of get used to and stop noticing altogether. The way it feels, I would describe, is that you sit in the sole plate as opposed to on top of the sole plate. Again, just because it is anatomically shaped ever so slightly, which is a very good thing. Your foot's not sliding around on the base of the shoe. It just feels more secure in general. As far as width is concerned, it is a very tight fitting shoe. There isn't a lot of extra width to it. It's not going to stretch very much at all. So if you have wide feet, probably not a good option for you. And if you've worn past Mercurial models and you didn't mind the tighter fit, you're unlikely to have any issues with the Mercurial Vapor 11. As far as sizing is concerned, they run true to size. I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and length is absolutely perfect. So just like pretty much every other Mercurial Vapor, if you are looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. All right, guys, that is it for my review of the Nike Mercurial Vapor 11 in the Spark Brilliance pack colorway. If you guys are interested in more info, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find the high quality images of this exact pair that I took myself. That'll give you a better idea as to how they actually do look in person. And of course, you'll also find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $230 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding the Vapor 11, leave them down below in the comments, and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.